Hello and welcome to the We Don't Wanna podcast. We are your hosts. I am Scott, and joining me as always, he's been real busy playing with his model set of the city. It's Zachary Attackery. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good, man. You know, it just warms my heart to sit around and like kind of pretend I'm like Mr. Rogers playing with like
You gotta
people in your city.
Build it up and make sure it's You're gonna paint it soon. It looks kind of it's looking very gray.
Looking a little. Well, I'm feeling a little gray. You know, just lost my wife, lost my son.
Big true. Zach, I am excited. I hope you're excited because we are starting a brand new series. Brand spanking new, hot off the presses. This is not an old series that we are doing by any means. This is HBO's House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon.
Hot D. Hot damn.
Hot
it's
D.
Hot D.
I way prefer the name Hot D.
Hot D is amazing. It's very good at that.
We're going to talk about Hot D while I'm drinking some hot tea, by the way.
True. I'm always talking about Hot Ds. You know me. So, this is House of the Dragon. We just got back in from the premiere. Obviously, being the prestigious podcasters that we are, we were invited to the premiere.
Yeah, just got off our private jet back in Texas.
Walks off the red carpet. We're fresh from seeing the premiere, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. So, look, if you guys are just now finding us, this is what we're doing for the series. Just whatever, pay attention. If you are not new and you've been with us for a long time, like many of you have, this is going to be a little different than what you guys are used to. We did put out a quick disclaimer, kind of heads up, a couple weeks ago that this review, Scott and I are, I guess I don't know how I want to start this. We are very much Game of Thrones, and aside from Game of Thrones, just good television fans. Like we just love to consume media, whether it's TV, film, whatever it may be. And our friendship is almost entirely based off of checking in with each other and chatting about this stuff after a new episode drops or a new trailer drops or a new game is released or whatever it is. And so we kind of wanted to give you guys a peek behind the curtain on what these conversations look like while simultaneously giving ourselves the chance to view as a viewer, not necessarily as a podcaster. Call us lazy? Fine.
Yeah, we'll call a spade a spade.
We'll call a spade a spade. We'll call a duck a duck.
Yeah,
for you old school fans.
A very in-depth review of, say, Game of Thrones or Harry Potter or some other things, you can check out our other stuff. This is not going to be exactly that. Maybe sometime down the line, years from now, we will do a more thorough review of this show. But this is going to be very informal, just general thoughts, takes, hot, cold takes, whatever we got.
Hot D takes.
Hot D takes for sure.
I think this is maybe the right way to say it here. It's not that we are not going to go in depth with the episode. I think unless you feel differently, Scott, we have not talked a whole lot about how we are going to be discussing, other than just, hey, let's just have a conversation about it.
I think that's what we're here for. Yeah.
But I mean, it's more so like we're not deep lore diving. Right. I think that's more the disclosure that we want to make. There are several podcasts out there that are deep lore diving. If you give us probably a few months, maybe a year or so, we'll probably revisit and deep lore dive because we love this world. But we are giving our initial thoughts. Is this a good episode? Was it shot well? Is the dialogue compelling? Are we into this? Mm-hmm. And that is what we're going to be discussing here today. So we hope you guys are looking forward to that, and we thank you for joining us. So
for sure.
You got any housekeeping?
No, let's jump in here. I want to, obviously, brand new show. I want to, first of all, Zach, just to kind of set the stage here. Where was your headspace? What were your expectations coming into this show?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that my expectations are maybe a little unlike a lot of like Game of Thrones fans out there. Although so many people out there were just like, oh, have low expectations going in because they fucked up the last show, you know, shit
Sure.
like that,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I don't entirely subscribe to that. But
Sure.
um, I think my expectations are somewhere around like the middle of the road. It has the opportunity to be very good, and I think it. This is a bias. This is not a production view or anything like that. This is just like my own interests. For me personally, it has the possibility of being a little lackluster.
Sure.
I'm not a huge Targaryen fan, but I am fascinated by this world, and so that is what is compelling me to be into this. And if it delivers on giving me more of this world in which I love, I
Sure.
think that I will be very happy with. Those are my expectations.
I think you and I are pretty much in alignment. I was not like foaming at the mouth, you know, not like super stoked, super hyped for this, but you know, I was obviously very interested, loved the world,
Mhm.
and wanted to check this out. Also not like the biggest Targaryen, you know, head out there.
What you?
Me, I know, who would have guessed. But I think the thing that excited me most about the idea of watching this, you know, is there has not been in my mind there has not been appointment television in this way since Game of Thrones ended. You know, like these days with like obviously the whole landscape has changed, but with like so much streaming and like, you know, there not being that cultural zeitgeist type show,
Right.
it's like, hey, you watch it when you get the chance, or like, oh, I'll binge it when it's done.
Right.
When-
Or the whole season is released
Right,
at once.
exactly.
You know? Yeah.
When Game of Thrones was at its peak, it was, hey, everybody's getting together at my house to watch Sunday night. Like,
Right.
let's watch Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And even if this doesn't turn out to be that, I think just the possibility that it might be that, you know, we're gonna watch this and then talk about it right after is just an exciting thing. So
Sure. Totally.
I'm stoked for that. And as far as the actual show goes, I shared, I think, most of your expectations. I was trying to temper them. I try to live, I guess, a lot by, hey, expect the worst and you can only be pleasantly surprised, you know?
Yeah.
So I will say, to start our takes here, I think I was at the very least, like mildly pleasantly surprised. Like I had a good time with this episode.
I have to agree. I think that there was, even though we're in a familiar place, there's still a lot that you're looking for and a lot that you're exploring. Both from a nostalgic standpoint and from a like, hey, show me new,
Right.
and we're getting both.
Right.
You know, we're like, I mean, for me, one of the scenes like when it pans up onto the Red Keep,
mhm. Big
I mean,
time.
I typed out a note. This looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's cool because, you know, like you're not gonna see like a keep or a building like this change too much over the course of, you know, a couple hundred years,
Right.
170 years or something like that. But it really does look more enchanted in a way,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
newer, fresher, and I thought
Right.
that was really pretty. And then we got the cool like overheads where you get like the square. I guess I don't know what it's actually called. Like where we get a lot of like these great Cersei scenes.
Oh, sure.
Where like her and Jaime in Game of Thrones, like
Mhm.
what is that square called?
The like
it's-
just the in the Red Keep, you mean?
Yeah, like inside the Red Keep, there's like that
Just-
square with like all the columns like in a square.
I don't know. It's a room. I don't know.
Well, it's like outside almost. It's like hallways.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
but I mean,
talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about, but I
All
don't
right.
think it has. A
Like,
specific
even
name,
just seeing
buddy.
that, I was like, oh.
Yes, I think the one thing I felt extremely confident about coming into the series is that A, this is HBO, B, this is the sequel prequel to their most successful show ever. The budget will be there. The production values will be there. Whether the
Mhm.
writing and the acting and that can follow suit remains to be seen. But I knew, I was like, the production values are going to be there. It's going to look
Yes.
nice. And it does look very nice.
It does look very good.
I think the costuming was on point.
Yeah, actually, that's a super good note. I'm glad you brought that up. The costuming looked like
good.
I was sold.
Yeah. The dragons,
with one exception, which we'll get to in a
looked
minute.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, the production values were there for sure. So props right away for that, I guess.
There was a so I took a couple notes of like specific points in the episode that I was like, oh, hey, I like this, or hey, I want to mention this. And one of the first ones for me was, I mean, just simply the intro scene.
The Harrenhal.
The Harrenhal, the high, I think they called it the Grand Council.
That sounds right, yeah.
Oh, also, we should probably state disclosure. Scott and I, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but you haven't read Fire and Blood, right?
I have skimmed it. Or okay. Wait, are you talking about?
Because this is based off of like the second half of Fire and Blood.
I know the general. I generally know what's going to happen in this series based on the histories, but I'm not gonna like talk about it or
sure,
like, spoil it for anyone.
Yeah. Well, so I the reason that I am disclosing that is I can't recall if it's called the Grand Council or whatever, and I don't know if that's book lore or if that's created for the show, but in the show they called it the Grand Council. I thought it looked fucking cool. It gave me a very like hopefully this isn't taboo, but it gave me a very like Lord of the Rings, like grand, like just big world.
It was a
like,
big room.
Yes. Yeah, it was a big room.
It was a real big room.
Those big rooms definitely remind me of Lord of the Rings.
Gotta love those, a good big room.
Yep.
But I know what you mean. It seemed
it just seemed more
fantasy-esque. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. But yeah, it was a cool sequence. And just like, kind of setting up that, hey, this is kind of the precedent that they set forward is that the female will not inherit,
right.
No queens, that it's going to go to the male line.
Yes.
And now at the end of this episode, we see obviously them, Viserys going against that precedent.
Right.
Which is interesting.
I really particularly liked the quote during that intro. It said, the only thing that could tear down the House of the Dragon was itself.
For sure.
Yeah. Very good. Obviously, a little bit of foreshadowing there.
Right. Thanks,
but I mean, look,
Freddie, foreshadowing.
Yeah, no kidding, right? But yeah, I mean, just an interesting episode all like through and through. Were there any specific scenes that stood out to you?
I think the big one, the big, I guess, set piece, if you will. I don't know if that's fair to call it that, but like the tourney, the jousting, was very cool and very well done. You can tell the budget is a lot higher from the first season of Game of Thrones.
Tourney?
Yeah, from the hands tourney. They found a new build. That building burned down at some point, I'm sure, so they couldn't use it for the hands tourney.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, I've definitely seen A Knight's Tale. And I'm pretty sure what Daemon did to that one guy is super illegal. Like, listen, I'm not a jousting expert, but like as soon as he did that, I was like,
hey,
that's gotta be illegal. Like, come on, foul, ref, foul. He can't shove his thing in front of the horse. That's illegal.
You are definitely a jousting expert, if you know what
I mean. 100%. And then as the jousting went on, I immediately realized, there are just no rules in this fucking tourney. They just
start beating the shit out of everybody.
They just literally start
killing
everyone. There's just no rules whatsoever. So okay, ref, I'll let it slide this time. But it was a cool sequence.
It was, and the whole Daemon picking Hightower to rub it into Otto Hightower's fate, the Hand of the King, was very funny to me. Yeah. I was like, "You're a piece of shit."
His daughter,
Daemon.
You mean when he picks his daughter to
that? But also, when he's choosing his first jousting opponent,
both
he chooses Hightower.
I think the more dick move was asking
was
for his daughter's favor. Yeah, like her dad is just like.
And she was so naive. She like was like, yeah, okay, like,
yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, the whole sequence was very good. I'm curious about. I hope was this Chris something. I was just gonna call him Chris. Sir Kristen Crisco, the guy who won the tourney. What was his name?
Oh, fucking hell! I don't know.
I'm just gonna call him Sir Chris.
Sir Monte Cristo.
The Sir Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah. I'm curious. I hope he's in the show. I assume he probably has.
They
to
made a
be.
deal about him.
Yeah,
he has to.
He seemed pretty legit.
He's gonna end up being like the general for the opposing army. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
he's
know.
gonna be something.
He sure kicked Damon's ass. And for those who are keeping score, Damon has a Valyrian steel sword, Dark Sister, and that's like taking in this world, that's the equivalent of like taking a lightsaber to like a butter knife fight. So the fact that Sir Count of Monte Cristo.
Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah. The fact that he kicked his ass, I think that's pretty telling. Or maybe Damon's just way too full of himself and
It's
sucks
probably a little
dick.
column A, little column B.
Could be.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
Like, are the Valyrians? You tell me this, Valyrian. Excuse me, Targaryens. Really known for being like expert swordsmen, or are they just badasses because of their dragons?
I mean, they can ride dragons. That's kind of
right.
their biggest deal.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So I wanna talk characters a little bit.
Yeah,
here.
Definitely. That's what I wanted to go to next too.
There are a couple of other scenes that I want to lightly cover, but what are your initial thoughts on some of our big players so far?
I think. Okay, first of all, my very first initial thought is fuck the Targaryens for their names. They repeat too many fucking names, and they all sound way too similar. I know this was a very common complaint for people in getting into Game of Thrones.
Wow, you're such a common.
I know, I'm such a common, but like, there's already a Viserys that I know from Game of Thrones, and there's like 63 Aegons. It's a mess. Anyway, aside from that, I do find Viserys, our king, to be a pretty interesting character.
Okay.
I feel for him because he had a really impossible choice, and it just turned extremely badly on him.
Well, we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
scene.
we'll talk about that. The girl, Rhaenyra, don't know how I feel about her yet. Not super into her yet.
Is there something you dislike about her?
She just seemed real like smarmy and like, oh, I have to have like a quip and a like, I don't know, like, yeah. She just seemed too. I don't know. I'm reserving judgment on her for now.
Sure. Fair. Oh, I'm gonna pass judgment. When it's my turn.
Fair. Daemon seems like a decent kind of antagonistic character. Like I didn't like immediately like, oh, that's a good like villainous type dude. Also, can we talk about real quick how like fucking creepy and
his mouth is?
Well, no, yes, but also
he has no lips.
I was gonna say the scene between him and Rhaenyra where he gives her the necklace. Like, listen, I know that's the whole Targaryen bit is incest and like, you know, marrying your nieces and what have you. Yeah. But that scene was real creepy vibes I was getting from that scene.
Yeah.
I kind of am into Otto Hightower.
Of course you are.
He has a closest to that I've seen Tywin Lannister type quality to him. Obviously not the same as Charles Dance.
I think he's a little more emotional in his decision making.
Probably. It's that he's definitely like Rite Aid brand.
Tywin would never let himself get riled up the way that Otto Hightower does.
Riled up?
Yeah, fuck yeah. During the council scene where Daemon's there, he's just like, he even stands up and starts barking at him.
Right. I did forget that.
That would never happen with Tywin.
Listen,
but he does seem like he's good at his
diet.
Craft.
Right. Like Viserys, he's diet Tywin Lannister.
That's even a stretch. Don't do that to Tywin.
Viserys defends him. You know, Viserys is like, he's more wise and honorable than you could ever be. Blah blah. So
right.
I'm trying to think. I think I already mentioned Sir Count of Monte Cristo.
Right.
Those are the ones that stood out to me, I think, the most. Who are
Sure.
you?
Yeah, I mean, I
Interested in?
think I want to see how Rhaenyra,
Is it Rhaenyra or Rhaenyra?
her, whatever her fucking name is.
Yeah, the main chick.
I want to see. I'm interested to see how her character grows because she's obviously still very young.
Sure.
But I did kind of get this element, and maybe this is unfair of me.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, people really liked Arya, and are they trying to kind of like give a little of like the I don't want to be a man, like
I sensed
like young
that
Arya.
there was a little bit of that.
That may not be fair. So I will admit that that's where my head went
a
immediately.
knee-jerk reaction. I kind of had the same.
I thought King Viserys was honestly kind of bland, if I'm being honest. Like, I thought he's very, very gray. Just, I didn't feel interested or compelled by him in the slightest. I thought he was very soft.
I think I felt for him more than anything.
Sure. Especially in that last sequence.
Well, yes, and just because he's in he was put in several very difficult positions in this episode. And right. I did like when he his speech to his brother when, he found out what his brother had said and everything. I thought that was him showing some balls, showing some fire.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
I didn't feel like he was completely bland.
I don't know any of the actors and actresses' names in the show yet. But I did actually want to give him credit because the scene during the council where it's after his wife has died.
Yeah, that was a good
is
scene too.
Very intense, and his performance in that scene was
very
powerful.
That might have been my favorite scene of the episode.
It was very good.
Post-death council scene was awesome.
Yeah.
What are those little? Hell yeah, dude. I have no fucking clue what those little stone bowl things. You know what I first thought, and I realized very quickly I was way off? In the very first scene we saw them, he was like eating a hard-boiled egg and like just having himself a little snack, Viserys was.
You thought they were just passing out snacks?
I thought they were just passing out hard-boiled eggs for everyone. It's like, hell yeah, I'll go to this council meeting. I love a good hard-boiled egg.
Oh, that's
my
hilarious.
dude right there. But I have no fucking clue what that is, so I hope we get an explanation on that.
Some cool call-outs. I do not recall his name, but he is the black guy with the dreads.
Yeah. Corlys?
I think you're right. Corlys Viserion?
Yes.
Valerian. Valerian is their last name.
Okay, sure.
They are I actually just read this the other day, so this is kind of a cool little tidbit. Nothing spoiler territory in the slightest. But just they are actually an old house from old Valyria who left Valyria
before the Doom.
Even before the Targaryens fled to Dragonstone.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, very, very old Valyrian house there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they've always been pledged to the Targaryens.
Gotcha. Yeah, the one thing I will say, and I think we need to talk about this scene a little bit, is I don't think I needed this episode or this show in general to be as graphic as it was. That birthing scene was really difficult to watch.
It was tough.
I don't need to see dicks cut off. I'm good on that, thanks.
You think in the writing room at HBO they're like everybody was
dick quota? They have a quota for dicks.
That might be, yes. No, but you think that there's like an element of like Game of Thrones did things that we'd never seen on television before, and we weren't like, it wasn't afraid to go there. And so do you think there's this like edge of they're like, we need to be edgy and
maybe not like exactly to the point of like what you're saying, like we need to be edgy because Game of Thrones was edgy, but like I think there's like
A quota.
People, well, yeah, people expect this of a Game of Thrones show, so we need to have it as well, maybe.
If
Or it's just a prestige, like, violent adult HBO show, then it needs to have that shit. I don't know.
I think both reasons are pretty soft.
Yeah.
If any of that is even close to being true as to like their decision behind putting that kind of stuff in. Look, I'm not like saying like it doesn't ruin it.
Right. It didn't ruin the episode for me. But I was just like, this is more than I want to see. I will say, maybe this may be the highest praise I'm willing to give this show so far at this time is when I was watching it, when I was done watching it, it did feel like Game of Thrones again. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it was like just everything surrounding it, the vibe, the music, like the cinematography, everything. I was like, this feels like Game of Thrones. This doesn't feel like a cheap knockoff, basically.
Doesn't feel like Wheel of Time.
It doesn't feel. Wow, that's real harsh, but true.
Yeah, I mean, come on, bro.
I was like, this definitely. It puts me back feeling like I did when I was watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Maybe not that hype, but So
I've got a couple of notes here.
Sure.
I did think it was a little strange how Daemon Targaryen was being comforted by his Lady of the Night. I don't like to say whore, but that's what they call him. That's what they call him in the show. It's whore. I just thought it was very strange that she. I mean, hey, it's a different time, so maybe things are different. But like, she seemed to have a very
was she someone special? Was that the same? Who rode off on the dragon with him at the end? Was that the same gal?
It could have been. I had the same thought. Definitely could be wrong. Didn't look familiar. I didn't think it was her.
I honestly have no idea who that was. And also, why was she like?
So like, if that was a hooer, her telling him you are Daemon Targaryen, like he loses his dick, right? So he goes flaccid in the middle of a good old fucking doggy fucking.
Yeah.
And yeah, he goes from midnight to 6 p.m. And she's like, you're Daemon Targaryen, rider of Caraxes, wielder of Dark Sister.
And you're pushing rope right now, my dude. You are absolutely pushing rope. What the hell's going on? What are we doing here?
Oh my god, dude!
You wield Dark Sister and you're pushing rope. What's going on?
Come on, my guy. Have you seen your armor? Yeah. You gonna push rope wearing
that
armor?
That Tourney armor fucks. That armor was sick. It sure fucks does. Harder than he does, obviously. Yeah, that armor was sick as hell, dude. Big fan. Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Yeah. So look, if she is important and she is like his mistress who he brings along, then okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Sure. If she's like his Ilaria Sand type.
Sure. Right, exactly. Then that makes a whole lot more sense. If she is a whore, then I think it's a little strange that she is like as in the know with like the political happenings to like comfort him on this.
Yeah. Did seem a bit strange.
Yeah. Also, how about that sick ass 50-50 grind on the fucking rail during?
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That's all that armor, baby.
That was cool, man. That was a cool shot.
Tony Hawk would be jealous of that 50-50 grind.
Dude.
Yeah.
Fucking god,
dude. That was good stuff.
I know you said this already, but I thoroughly enjoyed the tournament scene.
No, big
It
time.
was cool as shit.
It was very, very good. Like I said, Count of Monte Cristo is maybe my character I'm most interested to see more of. So,
yeah. So that was kind of gonna be like my next thing that I wanted to talk about is like, who are you interested in like learning more of? And I think that's your answer there. But
big time him, yeah.
For me, I want to know what the letter that Otto sent to Hightower is about.
Oh yeah, sure.
We also learned that his wife is dead, so he's
Yeah.
not writing to his wife.
Quick thing on Otto. Do you think it was his intention, or do you think he is maybe trying to like get in a situation where like, hey, your wife just died. Have you seen my hot young daughter? Like, hey, maybe getting on that. She can bear you some heirs, maybe. Because I kind of got that vibe a little bit, but I don't know if I'm way
Go
off.
comfort him in his chambers. And wear one of your mom's dresses.
Yeah, this seemed a little...
It is a little... Dude, how awkward was that scene, by the way? She's just like, I brought a book, and he's like, thanks.
A book. He's mourning, like, I can't fault him, and she's just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
I kind of got that vibe, is that Otto is... maybe kind of hoping that old Viserys will take a liking to his daughter, and his daughter will be the next queen, possibly. But then also, I guess that would kind of like undermine the whole aspect of then Otto fighting for him to name Rhaenyra his heir. Well, not necessarily. It could just be like a contingency plan, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's one thing for sure. Anybody who has ever watched Game of Thrones, like, the dude is up to something.
Yeah.
He's doing something there.
For sure.
Other than that's what I was gonna say is like, this is maybe I do want to talk about a couple things that I feel a little bit down on.
Okay, sure.
So that is one of them. Is I don't feel a whole lot of like intrigue on like ooh, I need to know more about like this person, and like I want in any show, this is not because I'm comparing to Game of Thrones, in any show, I want to feel a lot of intrigue behind characters.
Right.
And that may not happen in the first episode, so like I can't give it too much shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because a pilot episode is a tall order. I mean, a good pilot episode is hard. And I do want to say that overall, I'm just going to say this now, we said it at the top of the episode, it did a good job.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in the world and like to see more, but like I never felt myself drawn to a character to be like, I'm into you.
I can see what you mean. Yeah.
So that's a little disappointing. I think the other thing that I want to say is this is kind of my overall take. I'm sorry. Let me before I say this, do you have any like downs on the episode?
No, I think I agree with your sentiment. Like, it didn't have anyone that like super jumped out at me like the way I feel like the Game of Thrones pilot did. If that's kind of what you were getting at. And maybe that's not the most fair comparison ever, because I do think the Game of Thrones pilot is like one of the most fantastic feats in television history. With, we've talked about it at length. Go watch that episode if you want to. But like, you've got Bobby B, you've got Ned, you've got Rob, you've got John. There are like so many characters who like jump out immediately as like, oh, these could be cool and interesting characters. And this one, I felt like maybe halfway that way about a couple. So I would echo that sentiment. Aside from that, I didn't have any like huge complaints. I just, I'm kind of in wait and see mode for the most part.
Cool. I feel like anytime there's a new anything, that is pretty typical of you.
Yeah, definitely. I reserve judgment.
I have a tendency to maybe judge a little bit more emotionally, a little bit more knee jerk, but I think if you're all right with moving here, I think I want to talk overall, like final sentiments here.
For sure.
Overall, I have this as a good episode. I mean, I enjoyed it. I know we've said this a couple times. I am intrigued. I want to see how things play out. Yeah.
If this episode accomplished anything, is that I am excited to see more.
Yeah, and I think that's a big deal.
Right, and that's what it should do.
Right. I do want to close with this on my side here. My biggest worry is that I feel like there's a potential that we're not going to have as many fields of view or as big of a field of view. I don't think it's going to follow as many characters as something like Game of Thrones does.
No, definitely.
Again, that is not required for a good television show. However, in this particular instance, because we are in Westeros, we are in A Song of Ice and Fire. That was a cool throwback, by the way. That was a cool that scene. I said this earlier. I am so fascinated by this world, and I want to be able to consume so many aspects of it. This is pretty apparent. This is like starting some type of like civil war in a sense, like Targaryen versus Targaryen. That's obviously been the foreshadowing. Sorry if that's a spoiler if you guys couldn't figure that out watching the episode. I don't know, and maybe I shouldn't judge too early. I don't know that we're going to see a lot of the political scheming behind like the forming alliances and like having new interesting characters from different houses that align with this house and align, like that is what I want, because that is what is so interesting about this world is. So I really truly hope that we get to see some of that. I love to see the dragons. I'm cool with that. I want to see some cool war scenes, but if that is the only thing that the show offers, it seems like I probably will feel pretty mid about it overall, and that's my outlook.
Yeah, like I agree completely. Like it's tough to judge after just the first episode, but it already does not feel as expansive as like the first episode of Game of Thrones did, like where we got what was going on a whole other continent in the east with Daenerys in even that first episode, and maybe that is still yet to come. Like I said, remains to be seen. Maybe we'll get, they mentioned that whoever that character was that was like killing pirates or what have you in the Stepstones, like that could be a point of view character, and maybe that will help expand, kind of broaden our scope of view.
Right.
But immediately reaction, I agree, it does feel more limited in nature. Yeah. And the other big thing I would say is that unlike Game of Thrones, the thing that might temper my enjoyment of the show is I generally do know where this is going and how it's going to turn out.
Right.
So that's the theorizing, the theory crafting that we always used to do about like, well, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen next season? Blah, blah, will be affected by that because this is a prequel and we generally know where things end up, So,
right.
Not that that's like a deal breaker or anything. It's not, but, those are, I guess, if we want to voice some concerns, those are the ones I would have.
Right. Yeah. I think the only other thing really is like, I don't know, I guess, how do I want to say this? Like, you know what? I will reserve because I feel like I'm being a little bit down on it, and I don't need to be, because the overall, I want to bring this back here, guys, because I don't want it to be like I'm being negative about the show. The show seems like it has the potential to be very good.
Yeah, agreed.
I haven't had. Oh, okay. Actually, hold on. One other thing. I haven't had any issues with acting. I didn't feel like anything was like, that didn't work for me.
Right.
You mentioned costumes, set pieces, all that's good. It has all of the formula. All the pieces of the formula are there for it to be good. I hope it consistently is able to deliver that. And I would be very curious as to like how big of a show we're gonna get. Yeah. Like, is this gonna be one season?
Like,
is
how
it gonna
long?
be 3 seasons? Like, it's obvious. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Good for pilot and interest, but bad for maybe like cutting it short and not leaving it open for more expansiveness. But I think everybody has a very good idea of what is supposed to happen in this show. Like not necessarily how it ends, but this is going to be a show about the war for the king, or excuse me, for the throne, because of naming Rhaenyra or whatever the hell her name is, Rhaenyra, as
one of those
names, yeah.
And I mean, there are still things, to be fair. I said, I know where it ends up. Not to. I generally have an idea, and there are still things that are like unclear from the histories. that they could still very well explore that would be, you know, like reveals, like Summer Hall, I think is kind of still a big mystery, for example. So what exactly happened there? So that is stuff that if they do go in those routes, that could be very exciting. So
I have heard that during this war that is supposed to take place that we're supposed to see here, that there's supposed to be a really cool thing that happens over the God's Eye.
Oh,
which
cool.
would be so cool because I want to see the God's Eye on screen, man.
Definitely.
You know, so there's a lot of shit like that I'm like,
Yes.
this can deliver on so much that I would really, really like. And for that, I truly, genuinely am very excited for.
The Song of Ice and Fire world is so cool and interesting that any chance to exist in this world and get more in the world is an exciting possibility.
True.
So
Agreed.
Let's rate this bad boy, Zach. Let's do the thing we definitely always do and never forget to do.
Always.
Let's rate the episode. I feel like I want to give this a solid 7.5. 7 to 7.5. I'll go 7.5. I'll go 7.5. I enjoyed it.
I think I'm gonna go 6.5.
Okay. Little more down on it. Do we want to do, we didn't talk about this, but do we want to do who in our mind who we think won the week? Just like, hey, who was our champion for this week?
Yeah, we do.
Do you have one? I didn't really put much thought into this.
I think that I think in my head there's two clear options. It's either Viserys because his acting performance was very good.
Right.
Or it is Daemon because I'm the most interested in like what the fuck this guy is going to do.
You don't think it's Rhaenyra though, because she was like ignored by her father for so long, and now she's named as the heir?
Well, so again, if we're doing like positioning, then sure, right? If we're doing like who made the biggest advance,
we
then
always
sure.
define this so very well. I think
to me, I just think it's who's the most compelling this episode.
Okay, if we want to go that route, then it's Viserys for me.
Okay, I would agree with that for sure.
Like I said, I feel like he had. You're right. Like he is maybe intentionally supposed to be a little bit of a bland character, but I think the scene he had in the throne room with Daemon, and then also the council scene,
was fantastic.
Very, very good.
As we kind of skated over this, but like the scene with. The birth scene. It was tough to watch. I mean,
he did a great job though.
It was heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
And
just an impossible choice for that poor dude. Just
fuck.
Absolutely impossible. Also, even like when he's, working on his models, like, I felt his grief, like that was real. So.
Yeah, man, Mr. Rogers over there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that is it, guys. We are, as we said, we're going to try our best to keep these a little short and sweet. That one went a little longer than maybe intended because it is, of course, in episode 1.
We had to set up a lot
to establish, But we appreciate you guys listening and or watching. If you guys are new here, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at WeDon'tWannaPod. We also have a Discord where we're going to be discussing this stuff with our listeners and community pretty frequently. So feel free to hop in there as well. We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.